Scared to host your very first or even your next webinar? Watch until the end of this video and I'll give you a 4-step formula for overcoming your webinar fears. For the best webinar, funnels, and business advice, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every Tuesday and Friday. Yeah. If you're paralyzed by the idea of hosting a webinar, but you really want to, by the end of this video, you'll have a simple 4-step formula that can be your go-to every time you get scared about hosting your webinar. I shared this formula with one of my clients, and she was able to get unstuck and host several webinars and even went on to collab with others in her niche. And now it's your turn. I've written a comprehensive webinar workbook with actionable steps that will help you to create and host your webinar in the next 30 days. So all you have to do is just click the link in the description below. So let's begin. Step 1, why are you scared in the first place? Here you want to do some soul searching. Now, back in 2014, I had a wonderful opportunity to consult for a major hospital out east. And so I flew over there and I did my consulting and I ran this major meeting. I was surrounded by very knowledgeable and important people. But I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Illinois, and I guess I have a little country accent. And so even though I knew what I was talking about, and even though I conducted the meeting well, I figured I did. They hired me to come down there and run a meeting, and I flew back home thinking, hey, I did an amazing job. I went there, I did what I was supposed to do. Awesome. Well, I got a phone call from my recruiter letting me know that they wanted to replace me, all because I didn't pronounce my words accurately. I didn't go in there. You can hear me now. I'm talking pretty good. This is how I talk. Ego, pew, pew. And so that stuck with me for a while. To this day, it's hard for me to really hop on a Facebook Live, and I'm talking to you here doing this broadcast, and it's kind of hard for me because I don't know who's on the other end of this video who's going to say that I sound stupid or criticize me or be mean. And the trolls, that they're ready to pounce. They're ready to pounce and pick on any single thing that you got going on. So the first thing to do is kind of sit back and think about, okay, what is my fear with hosting webinars? What am I afraid of? And try to identify that. Now, for me, like I said before, my fear was speaking, knowing that people on the other end of the phone or the microphone is going to hear me, and am I going to sound silly? Are they going to be critical of me as the people at this particular facility out east was critical of me? And so that's step 1. Okay. Now, step 2, once you identified what it is that you're afraid of and why you don't want to host your webinar, anything for that matter, ask yourself, is it true? It's either going to be a yes or a no. So this is more like this question, step number 2, it's like a twofold question. So if the answer is no, well, then you can move on to step number 3, because whatever you have in your mind, whatever you said that you're not smart enough, is that true? No? Well, then you can move on. But let's say that you feel like it is true. such as, it is true, I don't pronounce or whatever you say it, all my English words correctly. So if it is true, how can I help myself? Could I join Toastmasters and learn how to speak? So if I have a fear of speaking, can I do something like that? Can I try to learn proper speaking English? So 2, you can seek solutions to whatever issue you have. You could seek solutions to combating what your issue is. Now, let's go back to what I said about step 2. You've identified a problem. This is what you can do. And this is what I've done in the past when I needed like an ego boost. Make a resume. Usually you create a resume of all your education and professional achievements that says, look, I'm qualified. Well, I want you to create a resume listing all your accomplishments over the years of things that you've achieved and accomplished. So if you are telling yourself that you're not good enough for any reason, list everything down that you can remember that you have achieved success, that you were faced with a wall and you busted through it. It could be anything. Maybe you learned another language. Maybe you did your first Facebook Live. Maybe you had a problem that nobody else could solve and you figured it out. Maybe you had to figure out how to juggle going to work and getting your kids to the doctors, and you double booked and you're trying to figure out how to get gas at the same time. I don't know. This is like off the top of my head. You finished high school, you finished college, you got your master's, whatever it is. List all your accomplishments. And so when you're feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough, I can't do anything right, I can't figure it out, you can read that list, because somewhere along the lines you forgot how awesome you are. Okay. So do me a favor. Comment below if you think creating a resume of your own accomplishments through the years would be helpful to you. I spent quite a bit on step 2. So let's just move on to step number 3. Do something every day that scares you. So step 3 is do something every day that scares you. Now, what's the point of this? The point is to feel the fear and do it anyway. It's to train your mind, your body, your soul to feel the fear and do it anyway. A lot of times in my life, if there's something that scares me, I try to do it anyway. So a couple of years ago, I went zip lining. Not because I have this thing about going zip lining. The opportunity was there. And I said, you know what? I'm kind of scared to do this in my business. I'm kind of scared to show up. So let me fear that fear and let me do it anyway. And I did it. And I'm always trying to find things that I could do. I hate flying. I hate it. I hate flying. But, you know, if you want to get from one side of the country to the next in lightning speed time, flying is just the way it's got to go. So it's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And so I want to challenge you to do that as well, so that if you have this fear of hosting your first or your next webinar, because maybe the first one didn't go so well, kind of training your mind, your body, and your soul of feeling that fear and doing it anyway. So there's not this big stagnant thing holding you back as much. And, you know, I believe that's my favorite one, just feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Let me back up. So steps 1, 2, and 3 could really help you regardless of what fear you have. If you are scared about a new opportunity, you can use steps 1, 2, and 3 to help you toward that. Now, step 4 is specific to webinars. If you are scared to host your first webinar, like this is the very first one you've ever had, you can swipe out a webinar for doing a teleseminar. So what's a teleseminar? it's like a webinar, except you're on the phone. So you don't have to see anyone. And the thing that's awesome about this is that you can have your notes right in front of you and you can read your notes while you're on the phone. Now, I do suggest that you go over your notes and you don't read them verbatim, but you read your notes, or I suggest actually having an outline. But you have your notes and you practice over and over and over and over again so that you know the material, so that when you are speaking on the phone, you can just kind of look at your notes and it doesn't sound like you're reading. And even if you are reading, you pretty much know the material. And even if you lose your place, you pretty much know the material. And so that is a really good way to introduce yourself into webinars. If you're scared to do a webinar, it's just doing a teleseminar. You can get like a conference line, and you can still have people sign up for that conference line, and they can't see you, but they can hear you. And if you still need them to like go through slides, you could just email a PowerPoint or a PDF that they can flip through, and maybe as you're speaking, you could just say, turn to page 1, okay, turn to page 2. Well, actually, that would get annoying, but some kind of way letting them know when they can move on to the next slide. So there you have it. Now you know the exact practice to overcome any fears about hosting your first or even your next webinar. But what happens when the thing holding you back is not actually knowing where to start? Well, I've written a comprehensive webinar workbook with actionable steps that will help you to create and host your webinar in the next 30 days. So all you have to do is just click the link in the description below. So like this video, subscribe, and have a lovely day.